Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Marion no tauranga Aotearoa o. Greetings to you. Welcome to this short video. My name is Marion Sanders. I'm from Tauranga in New Zealand, and I have the privilege of sharing with you a piece of research which was conducted relating to the SET process, that is, the student evaluation of teaching. We entitled our research Working with the SET Process to Improve Teachers' Teaching and Students' Learning, maximising the impact of this data gathering tool. This obviously is just going to be a very brief overview, and we would welcome interactions with you if you are interested in this research. We decided that we would like to define, refine, and evaluate the process of SET. We developed a collaborative project between 3 tertiary institutions in New Zealand, 2 in Tauranga and 1 in Auckland. Our project was partially funded by Ako Aotearoa, and we were able, over the period of 18 months, to work with 141 participating students. And these students were working at level 5, which is year 1 tertiary equivalent. And it was across the 3 participating providers and also across 3 disciplines: counselling, theological studies, and another set of theological studies. And we were convinced of the potential of the SET process, but we were also very aware of the limited effect on current teaching practices. There was a lot we already knew. Obviously, research has been done in this area before. Also, there was our own experience as educators. We knew that the SET forms were completed at the very end of a semester. We knew that this was often asked of the students, that they do this in their own time. We know that because of this, students often saw the SET process as a burden, a chore, an inconvenience. For most students, the purpose of the SET forms was unknown. And these factors contributed to the fact that the response completion was often as low as 20%. A problem that was added to this was when students were participating in more than one course, sometimes 3 or 4 courses in a semester, they were receiving multiple requests, and this influenced the uptake, but also influenced their memories about what they wanted to say about each course. We also knew from research that students filling in the SET forms often drew on their most recent experiences. Therefore, if they had had pleasant experiences in the last 2 or 3 sessions, their form would have reflect that. But if they had not really liked the last 2 or 3 sentences, their form could be very negative. We also understood that cultural factors could influence student uptake. For example, in some cultures, it is not deemed appropriate to question your tutor or to question someone who is leading your learning. We were hopeful that by working with the students, we would be able to show them that in the academic environment, this actually is not only acceptable, but welcome. From the point of view of staff, we also knew that educators tended to only talk about the SET form at the very end of the semester. And very few educators ever talk to students about the purpose of the SET form. And then, sadly, many educators make little or no use of the data. As part of our research process, we did encounter a number of challenges. Obviously, COVID-19 came right in near the beginning of our work. at, the middle of our work. And we were influenced in New Zealand with a 4-week lockdown nationwide. And this meant that to sustain the students in their study, there were a lot of difficulties. Many of the students moved from being on site, obviously, to being distance, and some of them chose to stay distance. A second difficulty we had not anticipated was that with one institution in particular, students had a lot of choice about the makeup of their program. And so then we could not guarantee that we would have the same cohort of students following through the 18 months. Also, we noted that the cross-institutional alignment of the actual forms being used, that actually wasn't there. The forms were very different. And finally, we did have some changes in the personnel on the research team. So to our methodology, we posited that if students understood more about how the set form would be used and why it was important that we had access to the students' viewpoint, that this would actually increase the engagement. So therefore, we set about informing the students about the set process at the beginning of the semester. There was an initial briefing shared in class. This took place across all 3 institutions, and it was by the same research team member. In fact, this was me, and I had the privilege of going to each of the 3 classes in the 3 institutions and sharing the same introduction. During this sharing, the educator was also present. There were a few incidentals that I shared, but the main thing that I shared was this idea of the set process being a gift that student teachers could offer. First of all, a gift to the course tutor. That is, their feedback enables a course tutor to enhance, to improve, maybe even completely change the structure of a course based on the feedback given by the students. Obviously, if this feedback does indeed help in that way, it becomes a gift to future students. Students coming into the course after these current students have left would benefit from the students' feedback. And then lastly, and to most students, a totally unknown facet of the set process, their filling in of the forms becomes a gift to the institution. And a very important part of the external evaluation and review conducted by NZQA into institutions within New Zealand includes looking for student voice in the shaping of programs. Completing the set form is one very powerful way of providing student voice. So these 3 things were iterated very carefully to the students, that their filling of the form was a gift to the course tutor, a gift to future students, a gift to the institution. As part of the briefing, we also included a discussion about how to record their ongoing responses during the semester, emphasizing that it's not just a final look back over, but that keeping records during the course would help them come with a knowledge base as they filled in the forms. We were very interested in the range of responses that students gave to this aspect. They were very creative, innovative, and in fact, many of the students instituted the ideas that came up in this discussion, keeping an ongoing record. At the end of the semester, a student focus group from each of the 3 cohorts individually met with me, and at the beginning of the next semester, indeed, when I was present at their institution, ready to conduct the briefing session again. we learned so much through this process. And we would, all the people on the team, we would say that we have now an increased sense of the importance of the SET process. The students also, though, responded really positively to the notion of SET as a gift. The comments in the focus groups really demonstrated this, and you'll see those recorded in our full report. There's not enough time today to go into those. But there was also an increased willingness to complete the form with a lot more detail than had been present in the past. One group actually returned 100%. This was actually a surprise, but a pleasant surprise. Other classes increased the return rate. And the students reported a new willingness to approach the educator after class during the semester. Having been given this permission to give honest feedback, they felt empowered to do so, not waiting till the end of the semester to give all of their information, but sharing it at the time. For the educators and the quality assurance personnel, a key finding was the importance needed and the care needed when wording questions. For example, one student commented that asking, did the educator use appropriate teaching styles, was very unhelpful, since the student had no idea which were appropriate teaching styles. Therefore, it would have been better to word the question such as, how did the educator's teaching style help or hinder your learning? The educators cited the students' increased noticing of things happening in class and their increased self-awareness of how they were participating to the learning going on in class. It was also noted that educators referred more frequently to the upcoming SET exercise. And educators began to advise the next class of changes made because of the SET data. For our outputs, we really wanted to develop resources for teachers and for students, which would suggest a process to maximize the effectiveness of the SET tool across a range of tertiary contexts and disciplines. As a result, we have written a full report of the project, including many informative, interesting, and sometimes interesting quotes. We have produced an introduction presentation for tertiary educators on maximising the potential of the SET process, a 2-page resource for learners outlining the role and the purpose of the SET process. These 3 pieces of material, these 3 resources, are all available on Ako Aotearoa website. If you are interested in further discussion about our project, you are very welcome to contact either Dr. Beverly Norsworthy or myself, Marion Sanders, on the email addresses made available here. No tēnā koutou katoa. I hope that this rather hurried presentation has been of interest to you. Enjoy your day.